You're looking at a daily chart of the S&P 500 index. This is my weekly review. Thank you for watching. Welcome. My disclaimer is don't do as I say. This is for my amusement only. This has been in a trade range for a long time. I talked about this. It's been like a year that the 4,000 level is just a mark that it's been trading above and below. And, this is nothing new. It's been below and above for a long time. And I know a lot of you are getting tired of this grind, just grind higher, grind lower. The shorts can't make any headway to the downside, and the longs can't push it higher. So it's just in this trade range. Last week, it was down 4.5%. So it's probably going to trade back to this, 37.64 level, which is only like 97 points away from where it is now. So we'll see. And if it breaches that, there's other support areas, but that's kind of what I'm looking at. It came down to its 200. Now that I've made all these lines, you can't see it. It came down to its 200 last week and found support and bounced. You see this bounce here as it came down, had this nice run in January, and then it topped and then came down to its 200 and found support a couple times, bounced off it. But this time it definitely crashed through it. And we're just going to have to see, like I say, just take things one day at a time. On the weekly, you can see it was down 4.5% and below all moving averages. So definitely momentum to the downside. Here's Nasdaq. I'm going to start with the daily, and you can see this thing, same thing. Just draw a line right here at 11,000. And it's just been trading above it and below it for a long time. Right now, it's 11,138, so 138 points above it. And there's other areas of support below here. And who knows, maybe if we get lucky, it can retest this 10,002 area or just a 10,000 area. Hopefully, if we look at the weekly, that is the pre-COVID level right there, so maybe it'll want to revisit that again. It'll obviously bring some buy opportunities if it can retest this level here at the 10,000, which is 10% away, which is a significant move. Anyway, that's the Nasdaq. And then I want to take a look at the Russell. This is more of a risk on index because of the market cap, smaller market caps, less liquidity. And this one was down 8% last week. It's got, I think, 15% or more financial institutions, components of it, so this has got a lot of bank exposure, and a big reason why this thing was down. Anyway, they're all going down. And if all stocks were down last week, the expression, throw the baby out with the bathwater, definitely applies to this group. If one thing is bad, then everything is bad, right? If the banks are bad, then everything's bad. And there's just too much uncertainty. So investors just get out first, ask questions later, and they'll be back. Like I say, you just got to wait your turn and be patient. Everybody likes a correction. If you're in a stock, you don't want to have a correction. But if you're out of a stock and want to buy it lower, then you got to love a correction. But if you own something that you don't want to see it crashing through moving averages. I'm going to go through the travel leisure booking group. It's up 20 something percent this year, and Airbnb is definitely one of the stronger stocks, holding above its 50. It did slice its 21 on last week on Friday. Same with booking. This is another strong stock and a strong group. And if you just look at the weekly here, this is a weekly review. You can see this nice cup shape pattern, and maybe get a shakeout and you get this thing lower. But just got to take things one day at a time. It's definitely not a time to be aggressive by purchasing stocks. Another top group, actually the top performing group so far in 2023 is the computer software media education media group. And this is Spotify, and this one is up significantly here in 2023. This has got another base here. If you can see this on the weekly here, stage 1 base. with a nice cup with handle pattern there. So that one looks good. Another one is Duolingo. This is a top stock in the top group, and broke out after earnings here, gapped higher, but obviously the market weakness brought it back. And like I say, it's a weekly review, so you got to look at the weekly charts. You can see this is a stage one base here, and gapped higher and then pulled back with the general market weakness. But it was only down 1.25%. Like I said, if the Nasdaq's down 5%, you can expect growth stocks to be down, 7, 8, or 10%, or even more. And that would be normal action. This one was only down 1.25%. So good for Duolingo. It's showing strength. Another group that has been showing strength is the fabless, semiconductor fabless group. This is NVDA. Obviously, we noticed back in, was it October or November, that it was up like 4 weeks in a row here. Yeah, October, November, and then kind of formed this little stage one base and then just broke out. It was up like 8 weeks in a row, or 9 weeks, or 10 weeks, and just broke its string last week down 3.87%. That's not bad when the Nasdaq's down nearly 5%. AMD, another strong stock in this group. Again, it was up 4 weeks with NVIDIA, even more than that, back in November, and showed strength, forming a base here still. Let's take a look at the daily. Yeah, it's got this little base here, consolidation, stage one, flat base. So we'll see. AMD, yeah, I wouldn't get too negative just because the banks are falling apart. There will be opportunities. Actually, AMD was up 1.4% last week. So, and I'm going to get to the banks later. Of course, you have to, but just want to show some stocks and some groups that are showing strength. Tesla is another leading stock in the auto manufacturing group, which was one of the top performing groups. It's up 21% in 2023, and this is the main reason. Tesla actually held its 50 here, so below the 200, above the 50, kind of in no man's land. Stellantis, I call it Stella, but anyway, you got to look at the weekly review, and this is just forming a nice stage one base here. You can see the relative strength line looks pretty good. And it was down 6% last week with the weakness in the general markets. Ferrari is another one. Race down 3.76% last week. Not bad. This nice cup with handle pattern here at stage one base too. So this group is strong. And the last group that I'm going to go through is the steel group. STLD is one of the stocks that I like in this group. Like a driller was saying, if you're not early, you're late. And this one definitely fell out last week. It was down nearly 12%. So that's more than double what the Nasdaq was. We'll take a look at the daily here on Steel Dynamics. Yeah, nice pullback, slice to 21. We'll see if it gets support at the 50. I don't like stocks below the 21 though. Not in this kind of a tape anyway. The leading stock in this group year to date is Ternium, and this one held its 21 on Friday. You can see the lighter volume here. Went up on big volume, came down on lighter volume. So this stock is looks like it's forming a base, but is up significantly in 2021. Anyway, I'm going to stop with the groups because I just want to look at stocks with relative strength now. And Palo Alto Networks is certainly one holding up, pretty well in this week tape. You could see this consolidation pattern, and it's was only down 3% last week, while the Nasdaq was down nearly 5%. So Palo Alto Networks, definitely a leader of the cybersecurity group, and holding up pretty well so far. First Solar is another one, definitely a leader. It looks like a lone wolf in this group. It was up significantly the week before, almost 30%. Last week gave back 1%. So this thing is just a monster. And you can see the big blue volume bars here, and sold off on lighter volume. But I'm going to keep my eye on this one. I'd like it to pull back to at least a 10. Yeah, it's still 3.5% above the 10 EMA. So First Solar is just holding up really well. I mean, if you own that stock, you have to be happy with that performance. ULTA, these guys reported, another strong quarter. You can see that, sales growth 17, 18%, earnings growth, going to earn $25 this year, and just holding up well. In a week tape, it's a weekly review, so we'll take a look at the weekly chart. It was just flat last week. 3 weeks tight a couple weeks ago, and now it looks like 3 weeks tight. So tight trading in Ulta Beauty, and that thing is holding up well. CDNS Cadence is another one. You see this Dolly Parton pattern broke out a little bit, and now it's trading tight again here. You can see the base on base pattern now just kind of handling out. This thing looks good to me. It was flat on the week while the market, the Nasdaq was down 5%. Lantheus is another one that I like, a real strong performer in 2022, and this formed this base cup with a handle here, and you could see last week it was down 2%, not too bad considering the weakness in the general markets. And definitely one to watch. If you, like I say, everybody likes a correction when they're just looking to buy stocks, but when they're in a stock, they don't want to see it go down, and this one's not going down. I mean, if you're long this one, that one's holding up really well. NVO, Novo Nordisk, just you can see the consolidation here. This one looks like it just refuses to go down. Broke out of this consolidation, had this little consolidation here, 3 weeks tight, and a flat base pattern. And like I say, in the market, it was down 2% last week, but you think the banks are having a run on the banks or whatever's going on with Silicon Valley Bank, and they're under heavy scrutiny. So we'll see what happens with the banks, but people are not going to stop taking their diabetic drugs or testing for diabetes or their medication just because the banks are faltering. So people aren't going to stop buying CROX or buying Ulta Beauty products or ELF products because the banks are having problems. Let me see. LSCC, I think, is another one that held up pretty well on the week. Yeah, this looks like tight trading in here, down 2%, not bad. ALGM, another semiconductor, the manufacturing group. This one was down, 2.9%, 3%, we'll call it. Well, the Nasdaq was down nearly 5%, so that one looks good as well. Anyway, let's get to the banks. Everybody's talking about the banks, so you got to, go to Silicon Valley, and you can see, I guess, a lot of insiders sold within the last couple of weeks, but there wasn't really, a huge indication that, this thing was faltering. It did slice its 21 with volume on this date, whatever date that is, Marty, get it together here. Yeah, February 17th. But, there wasn't really an indication that this was going to falter. Thursday night, it closed at 106, and then Friday it didn't open. They just shuttered it. So we'll see what if any company buys it, which I doubt, or if the government's going to back, their security deposits. I know ROKU has some uninsured money in there, and it was down 3% after hours. Etsy as well announced that they had money, some uninsured money with Silicon Valley Bank, and they're down as well. But Silvergate, another financial institution that you can see these big pink bars, and it's down to $2. They look like, they're shuttering as well. A couple other bank stocks that just got hammered. A lot of speculation going on. You don't want to speculate. Just let it play out. This one was down with massive volume here. Never been a big bank guy because my dad trained me, and he would live through the Depression. So, not really pushing a lot of banks. Or I do know that JP Morgan held up well on Friday. Came down. If you look at the 5-minute chart, you can see the action here. Came down a little bit in the morning, and then just buyers came in and bought this thing up. So that's one bank that was holding up well. A couple other going down in sympathy with Signature, though, is really, this thing is getting hammered, down 23% on Friday. So beware, gosh, if you're a shareholder there. Some of the local banks, regional banks, I should say, are under heavy scrutiny. This is First Republic. down, yeah, 15% with massive volume. So there's just a lot of speculation. Like I say, institutions, they'll just sell first and ask questions later. You know, the old saying, the baby out with the bathwater. Everything was down on Thursday and Friday, pretty much. They're just selling. There's a lot of fear. You just got to let it play out. I'm going to look at a couple of other companies that are going out of business, it looks like, and nobody's saying a word about them. This is Bed Bath & Beyond. They look like they're going under. Nobody cares. But if the banks falter, you know, it's big headline news. Here's Carvana. This thing looks like it's toast, their business model, but nobody cares about that. They only care about the banks, Silicon Valley Bank. But there is some good news, a silver lining. If you're an Insulet holder, it was up 7.5% after hours because it's going to replace Silicon Valley Bank in the S&P 500 index. Anyway, we take things one day at a time. Don't panic. Play defense. Wait your turn. You know, be defensive. If you're in too big, then you probably got to get smaller. It's what I did. I had to trim. You know, I hated trimming. Said I was going to end in a positive note, but I hated trimming CROX. You know, because if you get in a good price at 80. You know, and you hold in for more gains, and now it slices the 120. So you had to trim some there, unfortunately. But like I say, people are still going to buy CROX regardless of the banks are going under. And then this is another one that I got around 80 and just watching. I actually added here on this day at 116, but I had to trim and get a little smaller just because you don't know how low they're going to go. You don't know how long this is going to last. So you got to play defense, protect your capital, you know, and wait. Like I say, wait your turn. And I guess I will end with the Nasdaq down, you know, nearly 5% last week. Could revisit these lows. We'll just take things one day at a time. It's sliced all of its moving averages, and we'll see where the next support is. I'm going to say about 11,000, and we'll see if the shorts can take it below there. There is a lot of panic, a lot of fear. Just keep your head about yourself, keep your wits, keep your capital. And it will be deployed at lower prices, and you're going to get some good bargains here as this market sells off. Anyway, never give up.